Hi, today's March 21st, 2019. This is official first whole day of hospice for Tom and me. Sorry I didn't do an update yesterday after we got word of what was going to happen because it was just a big whirlwind. They only gave us like 2 hours notice of when the transport was going to pick up Tom to go back home to do hospice. So we did have that ability, and so I'm going to try to make this as short as possible because I'm really tired and don't want to make it too long. But so the last video was made at 4 a.m. in the morning. That was before we had heard from the surgeon that we had been waiting on what seemed like forever at the hospital. Keep in mind, that was the whole main reason to go to the Las Vegas hospital from the Bullhead City one, because they said that Tom needed amputation to save his foot and to save him from the infection spreading. So needed to talk to the surgeon to see what was possible and what his chances are. So finally got to talk to the surgeon on Wednesday morning about 9 o'clock, I think it was. And, he walked in and said, well, we already decided to do hospice, so I don't know if we're wasting your time. And he said, well, let me take a look anyway. So he didn't take long to look at Tom's legs, and he just said, wow, your circulation's really bad. You're not a candidate for amputation. And I wasn't sure if I heard him right, because I'm like, okay, that's weird. He hardly looked at him, and well, he asked some questions. So he asked, kind of just confirming what is already in the record about Tom's conditions, diabetes, kidney failure, trouble with his heart, and how long, these wounds have been going on, and how long has the infection been going on. And I told him, well, he's had these wounds since October. Well, not all of them. It started with one little blister that just, got worse, and then it's getting better slowly, and they told us it could take 2 years to heal. So, but then it started smelling, and we were told that the wrap that they put around the wounds has some medicine in it, and that does have a not too nice odor. And so they weren't concerned when I mentioned, like, well, the foot is really smelling last Monday. And I continued to mention, I'm like, it smells so much I have to wear this mask. And, the home health and the wound doctors still said, well, that's expected or whatever. So, but then on, Friday afternoon, he got his wraps undone, and the nurse looked at it and she's like, whoa, you got something new going on here. It was like right in the middle of the foot. And it's still continued to smell, but she didn't say anything like, oh, I think you need to go to ER to get this taken care of. She just cleaned it up and wrapped it again. But she said his blood pressure was low, so, need to give him fluids and watch it. And so the next morning, Saturday morning, his blood pressure was really low, and he couldn't get up off the toilet because he was just so weak from that. And that's why we went to the ER, not because of the foot, but because of his blood pressure being too low, because he couldn't get up and couldn't walk. He couldn't go to dialysis on Friday because he was just so tired. So we just thought, oh, he's going to perk up after a day of drinking water and eating or whatever. But the doctor said, well, if he had an infection, then that would have caused the blood sugar to be high, the blood pressure to be low. And that's exactly his symptoms that he had on Saturday morning. So it seems that he did have the infection probably like a week before that. It was like building up. So it makes me wonder, if we could have done anything sooner. Yeah, like right when I mentioned that it smelled, and right when I said that his circulation's like looking worse, his legs went from being like normal to tan color to like almost black. He looked like he was a black person from like the shin down. And they just said, oh, that's just from poor circulation, and we can put stents in, it'll improve. And I don't know. Anyway, so that's something I'll deal with later to see, if somebody should be held accountable for that. But there's nothing that can be done now to reverse that. The damage has been done to Tom, and he had been already thinking about hospice anyway. We've been talking about it. He was afraid of it at first, but now with all these problems, he realized, heaven is much better than earth and much better than suffering. So the surgeon just confirmed what we already had decided. So it was nice that Tom got to make that decision and not be told that, hey, you have no other option. So I thank God for that. I thank God for giving me the inspiration to have that tough discussion with him. And anyway, so back to what's going on right now. So he's having hospice care at home. A nurse comes in at least 3 times a week for an hour a day to just make sure he's comfortable, that the pain medications are working, and see if there's any issues with falling or anything like that. And they check on me too. Now it's up to me to give him his medications. So he's all his regular medications, blood pressure medication, blood thinners, blood sugar medicine, anything that was to prolong his life has been stopped. So that way he can just die naturally from, those things that are the health issues that he has. But we don't want him to have pain, because, he would have pain and he would be vomiting and have diarrhea from the toxin levels getting up high from not doing dialysis, because he's not allowed to do dialysis per Medicare while on hospice, because they won't pay for both. So that's going to make his transition quicker, because diabetes and kidney failure and poor circulation, that will make your body slow down, but not as quick as the not doing dialysis. So because the toxin levels will just keep on getting up and up and up, and everything is affected by that, every organ, including the brain. And I've seen the effects of that, because days where Tom doesn't get enough dialysis, he acts kind of like a drunk, not really understanding things, and his vision gets impaired, and his ability to walk and talk gets impaired, just like if you had drunk too much. So I'm not looking forward to that, and the nurses said that they can try to keep comfortable. And so what we did is, yesterday they put him on morphine to help with the pain, but that was kind of making him loopy, and he was seeing like things crawling on the wall, and kind of being in a dream state, not knowing what was real and what was not. And so I asked them if they could change that. But they said if they change it to something else, it'll be stronger, and it'll lower his blood pressure so much that he would die from that. So he would die quicker, which I don't know if that's a bad thing, being that he's going to die anyway. So they also give him an anti-anxiety medicine, being that, he might be getting anxious knowing that he's going to pass. So unfortunately, the one they gave him, Ativan, or it goes by Loperazam or something like that, actually has the opposite effect on a small percentage of people, including Tom. And the reason I know is because that they gave it to him when he had an MRI, thinking it'll calm him so he won't freak out when they put him in that little thing. And he got more talkative and was like a little kid, couldn't stop moving and was asking a lot of questions and stuff. So the first night in hospice in our house was pretty rough for both of us, because he kept on wanting to get up out of the bed, and his muscles are so weak that he's like a wet noodle, basically, almost. And he was so adamant about getting up that he actually did manage to get himself to the edge of the bed and up. But then when he sat down, he couldn't get back up. So luckily I got help with the hospice nurse, and we made sure that he wouldn't do that again by putting pillows and stuff around the edges of the bed. And I basically slept on the couch right by his bed, so every time he made a noise or a movement, I was aware and I could be there to like stop him. So I was like kind of like doing that up until like 5:30 in the morning, on and off, and finally got him to sleep for 2 hours. And then unfortunately the morphine, I guess, started to wear off. So then the nurse then changed it to a different protocol where we give the morphine more often. So every 1 to 2 hours, depending on if he's getting agitated or looks like he's in pain. Unfortunately, this is going to make him basically sleep all the time and not very talkative, not very coherent. So unfortunately for people that want to talk to Tom on the phone, he can't really talk to you like he normally would. He can hear you, but his hearing is also impaired. I found that when he took the morphine while he was still at the hospital, that he said he couldn't hear me. So I spoke up, and then he could hear me. I basically had to like talk in his ear. So just know that if you're like wanting to talk to him on the phone, or if you're wanting to come to see him and talk to him, you can't really at this point. So sorry. I mean, I kind of accepted it over the weeks that Tom has slowly left his mind. And really, he just has an empty shell of a body right now that we're waiting for his spirit to leave. So right now he sleeps, and he kind of it's like he's dreaming, and you can hear him like kind of grunting and moaning. And once in a while there's some words that you understand, like he says, "Help me," or "Let me out," or something like that. And at first it was kind of disturbing to me, but now I'm kind of used to it, which is sad to say. But so I'm getting help from friends and family to share in the duties of giving the medication every 4 hours, every hour, and being there to kind of adjust him in the bed, because as he tosses and turns, then he ends up going from the top of the bed to the foot of the bed, and then he has to be brought back up. So actually kind of hurt my back last night doing that several times, so I've learned my lesson. And most importantly, the time period. I asked the doctor, well, how long do you think it'll take for him to pass? And he said, well, everyone's different, and you never know, but with all the conditions he has, and with him being taken off all the medications, he could have a heart attack, he could have a blood clot, which would be like an instantaneous type death. And that could happen at any time. And then it could be just organ failure, just from the poor circulation. As less circulation gets to the brain and heart and everything, then he will go slowly, which could take about 2 weeks because of the toxins in his body, because that'll just like you know, take over his brain, and then the brain won't be able to, you know, function the rest of the body. So I'm really hoping that he goes in his sleep and he's peaceful, but he may not. So I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that people have been asking me. I did read your messages to him, so please know that Tom does know about your feelings for him, and he said that he's going to be everyone's guardian angel. And sorry, I can't think of anything else. So, and I'm sorry if I'm making you cry. I know a lot of people said that the last video made them cry. So I guess I'll end this because now I'm starting to cry. So I'll try to do another update tomorrow, but you know, it's going to depend on what's going on, because of course if he passes, I'm going to let you know as soon as I can. But I have reached out to, you know, close friends and relatives, or just people who have just called and texted a lot. So I'm sorry if I didn't contact you directly. It's just been crazy for me, okay? So God bless you all, and thank you for all that you've shared with us, and keep praying for Tom, that his soul and spirit will be taken up to heaven soon. So good night, and talk to you soon.